Senate Majority Leader, Kericho County Senator Aaron Cheriot, the legislators will prioritize critical financial and legislative matters. These include the passage of the budget policy statement for 2025 in line with Section 25 of the Public Finance Management Act and Standing Order 126-1. The Senate will also deliberate on the Division of Revenue Bill 2025-2026, the County Allocation of Revenue Bill 2025-2026, and the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill 2025-2026, alongside approving the cash disbursement schedules. Beyond financial legislation, the fourth session will also feature key national events. These include an address to the Parliament by the President as mandated by Article 132(1)(b) and C of the Constitution. Additionally, senators will participate in the Legislative Summit scheduled for March 18th, 2025, and the Devolution Conference set to take place from August 12, 15, 2025 in Homa Bay County. The Senate will also hold special sittings in Busia from September 22nd to 26, 2025, as part of its effort to bring parliamentary business closer to the people. Another significant agenda item is the review of revenue sharing formula among counties. The third basis for review, revenue sharing approval by Parliament in September 2020, which expires at the end of 2024-2025 financial year. And with that, the business of the Senate is just about to commence any moment from now. Remember, our dear viewers, the appointed time for the Senate sitting on Tuesday afternoon is 2:30. It is exactly 2 minutes after 2:30 p.m., an indication that the Speaker's procession any given moment from now will be making its way into the chamber this afternoon. And remember, the motion given priority in the order paper this afternoon pertains the approval of senators who will be serving in the Senate Business Committee. This happens to be the only agenda for the House today. And the Senate leader of the majority party, that is Senator Aaron Cheriot, is expected to move this special motion on the approval of senators to serve in the Senate Business Committee. Dear viewers, just for your information, the Senate Business Committee is the committee that determines the business that will be handled by senators. And in that motion, 7 senators are proposed to sit in that committee, being the Senate Business Committee, among them Senator Ibrahim Roba, Senator Veronica Maina, Senator Mohamed Faki, Senator Shakil Abdallah, and Senator Crystal Asigi, among others. The Deputy Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Kathuri Murungi, is already in the chamber this afternoon. Allow me to hand over for this live broadcast brought to you by KBC in partnership with PBU. Enjoy your viewing.
Almighty God, we beseech you to imbue with abundant favor and blessings as your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under the liberation in so just and faithful manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests we have committed to our charge. Amen. Order, senators. Order, senators. Order, senators. Senators, order. Senators, I don't know what the excitement this afternoon is all about. So, Clerk, can you confirm whether we have quorum? Yes, okay. Read out order number 1. Let's get to business, members.
Order number 1, administration of oath.
Next order.
Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable Senators, I have a communication to make. Honorable Senators, it is my pleasure and privilege to welcome you back from the recess. I believe that we have had an opportunity to spend time with your families and constituents over the Christmas and the New Year festivities. Allow me to take this opportunity to commend you for the tremendous work you did and the amount of time you put in during the third session. We must all gear up for what is projected to be an interesting fourth session. Senator Mulo, can you just have a seat next to you? Honorable Senators, as you may recall, in the past week, the Senate held a midterm assessment and planning retreat for the fourth session under the theme, Shaping the Senate's Legacy, Reflections, Strategies, and the Path Forward. The objectives of the event were inter alia to review its performance in legislative and committee business over the past 3 sessions and identify best practices, identify challenges that have hindered effective discharge of its representative, legislative, and oversight roles, and propose solutions, strategize, and set priorities for the Senate's legislative agenda, and to strengthen teamwork, collegiality, and camaraderie in the discharge of our mandate. Have you said, Senator Asige? I have no doubt that from the vibrant discussions and contributions from honorable senators and the distinguished resource persons, we are sufficiently motivated to dedicate ourselves to the zealous protection of the interests of the counties and their governments, devolution, and the promotion of accountability and good governance. From the event, the Senate made specific and measurable resolutions which need to be implemented. These resolutions will be tabled before the Senate Business Committee for the committee to institute measures to actualize them in line with its mandate to monitor and oversee the implementation of Senate business and programs and other matters as may from time to time arise in connection with the business of the Senate. I, for one, will do everything in my power to facilitate the full implementation of the resolutions. Honorable Senators, looking forward, and indeed as witnessed during the midterm retreat, we begin the fourth session with a full agenda. Notably, there are 12 bills in the Committee of the Whole stage, 38 bills at the second reading stage, 24 petitions yet to be concluded, as well as follow-up on implementation of various resolutions and obtained by the Senate during the third session. Key among them, the resolution of the current state of the nation. Although high on our agenda is the consideration and determination of the 40 basis for revenue sharing among county governments for financial years 2025-26 to 2029-2030. A sneak review of what is to come was witnessed at the midterm assessment retreat last week, but its formal consideration will begin in earnest upon tabling of the recommendation of the Commission on Revenue Allocation, CRA, on the 40 basis and subsequent referral of the recommendations to the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget. I look forward to vibrant discussions to this very critical subject, trusting that consensus will be achieved on the matter, and the assent warned that my office will extend any necessary support towards that end. For if we all win, our counties win, and Kenya wins. Like in every other session, and in accordance with Section 25 of the Public Finance Management Act, Parliament will shortly receive and consider the budget policy statement, and therefore the division of revenue bill and the county allocation of revenue bill. This critical stage in the budget cycle requires introspection and forthrightness to ensure that the promise of devolution is achieved and that resources are distributed to the benefit of mwananchi. We each have a duty to assert ourselves in the process and to ensure that the resources at both levels of government are shared equitably and used prudently. I urge that we do just that. Honorable Senators, I can see this message is a bit long. You can take the seats just near to where you are standing. Honorable Senators, Honorable Senators, Honorable Senators. Honorable Senator Sifuna. Honorable Senators, like in every other session and in accordance with Section 25 of the Public Finance Management Act, Parliament will shortly receive and consider the budget policy statement and thereafter the division of revenue bill and the counter allocation of revenue bill. This critical I have repeated due to the interruption I got from the senators who just walked in. So, Honorable Senators, as you are aware, pursuant to Standing Orders 193.4, 194.3, and 195.6, the county public accounts, the county public investments, and the special funds and the delegated legislative committees are due to be reconstituted as their terms expired. Consultations on this matter are ongoing between the majority and minority parties, after which the Senate Business Committee will present the names of senators who will be nominated to serve in the Senate committees to the Senate for approval. Honorable Senators, from their foreseen business and activities, I take this opportunity to impress upon each of us to dedicate ourselves to the execution of our constitutional mandate and to undertake the task ahead of us with utmost integrity and commitment in service to a great country. My office, that of the Senate leadership, and the Secretariat are always at your disposal to facilitate you to do your work. Finally, as honorable senators have noted, the only business in today's order paper is the approval of senators to serve in the Senate Business Committee. In the event that the motion is approved, the newly constituted Senate Business Committee will meet at the rise of the Senate to deliberate on and schedule the business for the rest of the week. The meeting will be held in Committee Room 4. I thank you and wish you all a fruitful session. Next order.
Order number 3, messages.
Next order.
Order number 4, petitions.
Next order.
Order number 5, papers.
Next order.
Order number 6,
Order, Senators,
notices of
order.
motion.
Senate Majority Leader, are you following the process, what is happening in the House? Can you give notice of motion? You give notice of the motion. All the senators.
Mr. Speaker, if you could guide the House to some order, because we can barely follow what's happening. This is a broad-based.
I said you proceed and give notice of the motion.
This is a motion for the approval of senators to serve in the Senate Business Committee. Mr. Speaker, I rise to give notice of this motion that pursuant to Standing Order number 190 and 199.3, the Senate approves the following senators nominated to serve in the Senate Business Committee for the 4th session, in addition to the Speaker of the Senate, who pursuant to Standing Order number 191A shall be the chairperson of the committee, the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, the Senate Majority Whip, and the Senate Minority Whip. 1, Senator Ali Roba Ibrahim. 2, Senator Fatuma Aden Dulo. 3, Senator Veronica Maina. 4, Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei. 5, Senator Mohamed Munyehaji Faki. 6, Senator Shakila Abdallah. 7, Senator Crystal Asige. Yeah, Mr. Speaker, that's it.
Next order, clerk. There can be no point of order now when a member is giving a notice of a motion. At least that you should be aware to this level. Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements. Order number 8, motion, approval of senators to serve in the Senate Business Committee.
Mover of the motion. Can you now move the motion?
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the following motion now, which is the approval of senators who are going to serve in the Senate Business Committee, that the pursuant to Standing Order number 190 and 199.3, the Senate approves the following senators nominated to serve in the Senate Business Committee for the 4th session, in addition to the Speaker of the Senate, who pursuant to Standing Order number 191A shall be the chairperson of the committee, followed by the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, the Senate Majority Whip, and the Senate Minority Whip. 1, Senator Ali Roba. 2, Senator Fatuma Dulo. 3, Senator Veronica Maina. 4, Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei. 5, Senator Munyehaji Faki. 6, Senator Shakila Abdallah. 7, Senator Crystal Asige. Mr. Speaker, as is the tradition of the House, this is the first business that we consider, after which now this committee shall sit to determine the rest of the business of the House that follows. So I don't think I need to belabor this point. I request the Senator for Kakamega and Whip of the Senate, Senator Dr. Boni Halwale, to second.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to strongly support this motion, but I wish to seek, sorry, Mr. Speaker, let me swallow my words. I rise to strongly second this motion. And Mr. Speaker, before I give reasons why I'm seconding, I'm seeking for your protection. Mr. Speaker, I have been thrown out of my position where I normally sit. Mr. Speaker, you can see my kid sister, Maja, she likes me very much. She's seated on my seat. I don't know where I'm supposed to sit. I am the chief whip of the government. My seat is supposed to be there. What are you doing? Can you please protect me? I want my seat back. When I'm not there, I don't think very well, Mr. Speaker.
And I second the motion. I will protect you after that.
So, Mr. Speaker, looking at the composition of the distinguished senators who have found their way.
Get this point of order from Senator Okongo Mugeni.
You know, Mr. Speaker, this is the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. And you cannot shut your eyes to what is happening this afternoon. Mr. Speaker, as I contribute, the person who is supposed to be minority has moved to the other side, majority side. My minority leader, his deputy is already on the other side. Mr. Speaker, you know, we are all leaders in this country. We are all leaders in this country. And we cannot proceed with the business of the House with confusion, Mr. Speaker. We are a country, Mr. Speaker, we are a country that is governed by the rule of law. States that have fallen, Mr. Speaker, have started by ignoring court orders or the rule of law. Mr. Speaker, before we proceed, we need clarification. I need clarification, Mr. Speaker, on the implication of the High Court judgment that has clarified the composition of leadership in the two houses, Mr. Speaker, so that before we debate the motion that has been moved by my friend, Majority Leader.
Okongo Mugeni, I've earned you.
No.
I've earned you a clarification what you want. So can I give you the clarification?
The point I'm making, Mr. Speaker, is that the implication of that judgment, impacts on the position of majority and minority in this House, Mr. Speaker. And we are going to send a statement out there whether we are a country that wants to abide by the rule of law, respect court orders, or we want to slow
So which
degenerate.
court order are you referring to, touching on the Senate?
It's common knowledge.
We are not aware.
I can table
The chair
it.
is not aware of any court order
Mr.
concerning
Speaker,
the Senate.
are you the only stranger in Jerusalem, Mr.
Can
Speaker?
you have your seat now?
This is common knowledge, Mr. Speaker.
Can you have your seat, Senator Mugeni?
The court order is known to everybody. That's why, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, you can see
Can you have your seat now?
the minority have become the majority, Mr. Speaker. The person sitting next to me here, Mr. Speaker.
When I request the senator to
Mr. Speaker, I can table that decision before the House. I can table the decision before the House, Mr. Speaker. No, it's online. I just need to send it. I have it. I have the decision here. I'm digital, Mr. Speaker. I can table the decision.
So, Senator Mugeni, I think you are, let us not waste precious time. This is our first day here, and we didn't need to do some work. Let me give you guidance on what you requested. Senator Mugeni, I want to give you guidance that there is no court ruling or anything touching on the Senate. Absolutely touching on the Senate, nothing. You are senior legal counsel, and I don't know where this ruling came from. Yeah? So, Senator Boni Karwale, proceed and...
Yes, Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank you for that guidance. This House has gained a lot of respect in the country. And therefore, the guidance you're giving, Mr. Speaker, I invite you to be even bolder and ask our colleagues who have migrated to the majority side to go back and take their seats, because the proper position, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Boni Karwale, if you go even to the standing orders, If you consult the standing order, senators have free sitting. You can sit here anywhere. There's free sitting.
Thank you, Speaker.
The
Mr. Speaker,
minority leader
indeed.
is on my chair, and I'm not bothered. He can
Yes.
spend even the whole month. I have no problem. I can sit any side.
Mr. Speaker, indeed you are right. As
So
I have
kindly
said,
proceed and second this motion.
yes, I'm seconding Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, be patient with me. We came here to guide the country when, leader of the majority, we came here to guide the country when opinion divides the country. So just allow me in 2 minutes to make my point, and then I conclude my seconding. And the point is, since you have correctly interpreted what took place in court, that there were no orders against the composition of the leadership of the Senate, and given that there are designated seats in this House, like the Speaker's chair where you are seated, it is a seat in this House. Just because the standing orders say a senator can sit anywhere, doesn't invite senators to go and sit where the Speaker is seated. So because these seats are designated, let members sit wherever they want. But we as leadership, we sit where we are supposed to sit. We cannot be in a country run by social media, Mr. Speaker. I am very serious. If the courts, let me confirm, if the courts had ruled that the majority in the Senate has become the minority, I would have been the first to move to respect the courts. But because there is no such a matter, let us clear the confusion. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion that the composition be as stated. Thank you very much. Pardon?
I propose Senator Murango. Senator Murango, can you have your seat? Honorable Senators, I propose the question that pursuant to standing orders 190 and 199.3, the Senate approves the following senators nominated to serve in the Senate Business Committee for the 4th session. In addition to the Speaker of the Senate, who pursuant to standing order 191A shall be the chairperson of the committee, the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Minority Leader, the Senate Majority Whip, and the Senate Minority Whip. 1. Senator Ali Ibrahim Roba, NGH MP. Senator Fatuma Adanduro, CBS MP. Senator Veronica Maina, MP. Senator Wakili Ida Lekiproti Sigei, CBS MP. Senator Mohamed Mwinihaji Faki, CBS MP. Senator Shakil Abdallah Mohamed, MP. And Senator Christo Kegei Asige, MP. Mungatana Danson, Buya.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, can I be protected? Mr. Speaker, higher. May I be protected, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, may I be protected? Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion very strongly. Mr. Speaker, the list that has been tabled before this House in this motion is made up of very distinguished senators who have served this House with distinction, people who we know from our committees. They are worker bees, people who are able to put in the hours. And we really want to take this opportunity to thank the majority and minority sides for coming up with this list. Mr. Speaker, number 2, the list is diversified. I can see that almost all the regions in this country are represented. And Mr. Speaker, that is a very good sign. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I support this list. But, Mr. Speaker, as the Senate Business Committee takes its seat today afternoon, we want to remind them that we had a midterm retreat in Naivasha. And one of the things that we raised was the prioritization of legislation from this Senate House, Mr. Speaker. We do not want this SBC to behave like the SBC of the previous session, where, Mr. Speaker, they kept on prioritizing business from the National Assembly at the expense of the Senate business, particularly legislation. So, Mr. Speaker, we are asking the new team that is going there, please go and make sure that our members here, they push their bills so that we finish. Because we are now midterm, and there are members here, Mr. Speaker, who have not been able to push a single bill to its conclusion. Mr. Speaker, we want to urge the new team to continue with the spirit of working hard, but also to prioritize what is ours. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Senator Mudam Agnes Kavidu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I fully support the names that has been given to work in the Senate Business Committee, and I know they will do good work. I encourage them, like Mungatana has said, to prioritize the Senate bills first, because when our bills go to the National Assembly, they are delayed there so much. And so we should also prioritize our bills here before we deal with the National Assembly's bills. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm sure you're aware that we are using the supplementary order paper which was issued. So if you want to confirm anything, you go to the supplementary order paper. Senator Mazayo.
Asante Mstahiki Spika. Mstahiki Spika, cha kwanza nataka nikubaliane na majina yaliyoko hapa ya maseneta ambao wataketi katika ile kamati inayoongoza bunge katika itifaki zake. Bwana Spika, waliochaguliwa hapa ni maseneta ambao wako na ukakamavu wa mambo ya bunge la Senate. Bwana Spika, vile vile tunayo imani ya kwamba hawa waliochaguliwa wataweza kutimiza ile hadhi ambao wamepewa na ndugu zao maseneta. Kitu cha pili, Bwana Spika, nikiendelea kuunga mkono haya majina yaliyoko hapa yote 7, nataka pia kuweza kutangazia ndugu zangu ya kwamba hivi leo ni jambo la kusikitisha, naweza kusimama na nikatangaza kifo kilichotokea cha baba ya seneta wetu, ya spika wetu wa bunge la Senate, ndugu yetu Amazon Jeffa Kingi. Kifo hicho kilitendeka jana wakati wa madaktari wakiendelea kumtibu au kujaribu kuendelea kumpatia matibabu mzee wetu, lakini japokuwa sisi tulimpenda, Mwenyezi Mungu alimpenda zaidi. Kwa hiyo nataka tu kuwajulisha ndugu zangu, tumeweza kuweka katika mitandao. Mimi nilikuwa wa kwanza kuweza kuwajulisha maseneta, kuambia kifo cha mzee kimetokea, na hayo yote yaliyotendeka ni mambo ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Kwa hiyo tutaendelea kushikana na familia ya spika na ndugu zangu nyote. Kama mnavyojua, itakuwa kifo kama hichi si kifo cha kawaida, ni kifo kimetokea cha spika wetu ambaye ninajua sote sisi tuko hapa, cha babake spika wetu, ambapo ninajua na imani ya kwamba sote tutajumuika naye. Mimi pengine naweza kutangulia nyumbani, lakini watakaobaki nyuma mtaendelea kuweza kuweka nguvu za Senate hapo mbele. Bwana Spika, mwisho ingekuwa bora zaidi ikiwa utafafanua kwamba katika hii ratiba ambayo tunatuona sasa sisi tunasema tu katika broad based, lakini tukijua kwamba koti iliweza kutoa uamuzi, na uamuzi huo nataka ufafanuzi wa hali ya juu kama alivyosema ndugu yangu Okongo Megedi. Ikiwa unaweza kufafanua zaidi hapo ili tujue ya kwamba upande ule na upande huu sasa walio wengi ni kina nani ndani ya bunge. Asante sana Bwana Spika.
Senator Roba Magoma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the proposed names to the Senate Business Committee, Mr. Speaker. And my plight to them would be, as Senator Mungatana has requested, that our bills from the Senate are prioritized, and particularly the bills that are a priority to the lives of the people of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. I am pushing for the free sanitary towels bill, Mr. Speaker, and I believe after 2 years of it being in the motion, in the process of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, I hope that this bill would be considered by the Senate Business Committee. Mr. Speaker, I also want to add that in the event that no one is interested in taking up this position of the minority whip, Mr. Speaker, I am able and I am willing, and I am already sitting here on this chair, Mr. Speaker, so I can assist them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator David Wakoli Wafula.
Nashukuru sana kwa nafasi hii. Nashukuru vile vile Mheshimiwa Spika kuona ndugu zangu ambao wamekuwa kiukwea mlima sasa wameteremka wako katika jumba la Senate, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na Waswahili husema kipandacho hushuka, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ni kuwashukuru wa Kenya kwa kutupa nafasi kujumuika nao katika msimu wa Krismasi na mwaka mpya. Tumeshukuru vile vile tumekuwa na kikao kule Naivasha kutathmini ratiba na mipangilio ya jumba la Senate. Cha muhimu Mheshimiwa Spika, wale ambao wameteuliwa kuongoza kikao cha shughuli za bunge watie maanani kwamba Senate ni jumba kuu, jumba la umaarufu wa kutunga sheria, na kwamba mwaka huu Mheshimiwa Spika lazima ibainike wazi mbichi na mbivu. Lazima ibainike wazi majukumu ya Senate kikatiba na kisiasa, na kwamba hatutakuwa na uzembe ambao tuliona mwaka uliopita, lakini tuone ni shati ya pamoja kufanya kazi kwa pamoja. Kikundi hiki Mheshimiwa Spika, naomba viongozi wenzangu waweze kutulia. Wamechangamka kana kwamba wamekula aina fulani ya mmea, Mheshimiwa Spika. Huo mmea unaweza kuwa sukuma wiki. Mheshimiwa Spika, nashukuru na mimi naombea kila laheri wale ambao wameteuliwa, na kwamba sisi pia tunataraji kwamba baadhi ya kamati za bunge zitaweza kushughulikiwa ili ratiba zinazotoka ziweze kuiana na vikosi vya uchapakazi ili tuweze kuwatendea Wakenya haki na kuhakikishia Wakenya popote walipo kwamba ugatuzi tutaulinda, fedha tutazilinda, uwajibikaji ni lazima, na kwamba matokeo ya ugatuzi lazima Wakenya wafurahie. Na mimi ni kuwaomba Wakenya popote walipo, iwapo kuna tetesi na changamoto, wasikose kututafuta sisi maseneta, kwa sababu sisi ndio kioo cha jamii. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Geoffrey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I think I want to start by saying that I fully support this motion, because the members who are listed to to be proposed on this committee, there are members who are going to deliver the mandate of the committee. And therefore, we should all support them, because without the Senate Business Committee, I think we cannot have our agenda processed for this plenary. But I also want to request that these members on this committee must understand that this is one of the most crucial committees that processes agenda and discusses the calendar of this House. And therefore, they must put in extra effort to ensure that they do the right job. As Senator Mungatana has said, we have a number of pending Senate issues that needs to be dealt with. And I hope that this will be the right committee to initiate the processes which will lead to us resolving those outstanding issues. Mr. Speaker, I also want to urge the Senate Business Committee to also prioritize the many reports which have been generated by the oversight committees, PIC and PAC. We have in excess of 100 reports so far. And I was just wondering how these many reports will be processed in this House. I think this is a very, very important issue, because we have those reports which touch on matters of accountability in our counties, and action needs to be initiated as soon as possible. So I want to urge this Senate Business Committee that we are approving today, that they also need to ensure that those reports are brought before this Senate for debate and approval, so that actions can be taken by the relevant bodies like EACC and others. Mr. Speaker, that is very important, because I think we exist here to protect devolution, and devolution will be very much protected through the reports that have been tabled by CPIC and CPAC. Mr. Speaker, for those short words, I want to support the names proposed for this committee.
Senator Moruma, what is your point of order? I can see your on intervention.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Hoja yangu ya nidhamu ni kwamba wanaotangaza ama wanaopitisha matangazo katika runinga zetu ama Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit wanaandika sajili ya majina ambayo ni tofauti kidogo na ile ambayo iko katika ratiba ya bunge ama order paper, kwa sababu kiangalia pale vile inapita kuna jina kama Agnes Kavindu Mudhama, na katika hii order paper ambayo ni ya leo haina hilo jina. Kwa hivyo nilikuwa nasema tu wawasilishe majina ambayo yako katika order paper ya leo. Asante Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Actually, I announced that we are using the supplementary order paper, which has different names from the original order paper. So maybe our media team should be able to rectify that. Senator Professor Margaret Kamar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. I stand to support the list that has been given for the House Business Committee. I think these are senators who are seasoned, who have leadership in themselves, and we believe that the House will move very smoothly in the coming session. Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with Senator Mungatana that a lot was done in the retreat, and we need to pay attention to some of the decisions that we came up with and some of the very strong suggestions that came in. Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General who came, our wonderful, wonderful lady, Auditor General, gave us a lot of assurance that our CPIC and CPAC are going to be very busy, because she had over 1,000 reports to be tabled. And this House Business Committee has to really, as they retreat, to even come up with the members of the different committees. We need to be very clear how we are going to do this. Mr. Speaker, we have been discussing for many years that we should be up to date with our audit reports. If that is going to take place, a suggestion came out very strongly in Mombasa that, in Naivasha, that we ought to expand these committees so that they work as subcommittees. I think that was said by Senator Kajwang. I don't know which side is he sitting, or is in, yes, Senator Kajwang is somewhere now a majority backbencher. And it was very clear that the best approach would be to expand the committee and go into subcommittees. Mr. Speaker, let's break a record as this House in clearing the backlog of the Comptroller General, the Auditor General's reports. And really, let's be bold. Let this House Business Committee be bold and change things from the old system to a system that is going to make us deliver. Mr. Speaker, I also want to encourage them to prioritize some of the motions that come to this House that are very important. There was a motion from the senator from Kiambu, a motion that was going to bring in the idea of free education. This House would have broken a record discussing that motion, but we didn't manage to reach there. We really need to prioritize and give ourselves the motions that are going to bring a change in this country. I did also come up with another motion, which was touching on what the Comptroller of Budget touched, both in Naivasha and in her own reports, that we need to discuss how our governors can be stopped from implementing projects that don't belong to them while they're messing up their own. In our education committee, we were very clear, and we have already invited four. I think we are on the fifth governor, because we are talking to all the governors about how they have digressed from early childhood education to implementing what we call bursaries. And it should be very clear, because what they have done with the national government will not benefit the counties at all. Because if they are saying they are going to put some money from which had not been allocated for bursaries to take care of bursaries, it means some of the functions that have been devolved will suffer. And this is what my motion was trying to do, to stop them unless they go for a negotiation that gives them extra money. Because without extra money, they're actually doing the same thing that they've been doing. We went to Machakos and we visited early childhood facilities. Pathetic. They're in a pathetic situation. We went to Taita Taveta. We went to Kilifi. And Mr. Speaker, the situation is the same. It is still dire. So our governors cannot be telling us that they can give out bursaries because people are needy, while the early childhood program is failing, and while the village polytechnics are dilapidated. So those are some of the, I'm just using those two examples, the motion from Kiambu and my own motion, that required urgent attention. I would like to therefore encourage the next House Business Committee to look at bills and motions as they come in and select those which they think this House can have an impact on. With those remarks, I very strongly support this team of 7. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, you know the motion is about whether we are approving the names of the senators so that they can go and sit and generate the business for the Senate. The other matters, and since we started, nobody has rejected even one name. So it's like we're in concurrence. We're in concurrence with the names, you senators. So therefore, I want to give a few others, and then maybe the majority and the minority. You should make concurrence on this business. Now, let me give the Deputy Minority Leader. Deputy Minority Leader. Okay, let me give the Deputy Minority Whip. Okay. Senator as far as my hemispheres are correct, the deputy minority leader is none other than, he knows him, even he is looking at me very. Senator Enoch Wambua.
Yeah, that's better. Senator Enoch Wambua. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just a slight point of clarification as we support this, this motion. That name that you read was the former deputy minority leader. Now, the person speaking is the deputy minority, deputy majority leader. The label is here. Mr. Speaker, I support the 7 names, and as my colleagues have said, Mr. Speaker, we all expect that this team will ensure that the decisions that we made in Naivasha during our midterm review, those decisions are followed to the letter. The Speaker, secondly, I have a problem with the moving of that motion, because that motion, the Speaker, was supposed to be moved by the majority leader, but it was moved by the minority leader. Mr. Speaker, you will realize that this is a decision that the Speaker must give direction on.
What is your
Mr. Speaker, when I rise on a point of order, you don't give me a chance. When other senators rise on a point of order, you give them a chance, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker. Mheshimiwa Speaker, kwa heshima kuu, ningependa kupata ufafanuzi na maelezi ni lini kiongozi mwenzangu alijiapisha na kujipa mamlaka ya kujitangaza peupe ndani ya Senate kwamba yeye ni kiongozi na kiti chake kiko bure upande ule mwingine. Mheshimiwa Speaker, Wakenya wasiwe na tabia ya kunyakua uongozi kupitia mlango wa nyuma. Mheshimiwa Speaker, Mheshimiwa, hili ni jumba la Senate na koti liko kule nje. Mheshimiwa Speaker, hata nimevaa koti hapa. Mheshimiwa Speaker, nimevaa koti Mheshimiwa Speaker, na kuna koti lingine kule nje. Mheshimiwa Speaker, hoja ya nizamu, kwa sababu ni sheria, nataka maelezo. Ni maelezo viongozi. Sasa Speaker, naomba ueleze.
Honorable Senators, that matter was raised by Senator Okongo Mugeni, Senator from Nyamira County. And I gave guidance long time ago that absolutely there was no court matter, court ruling on the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. So anybody referring to the matter that I give guidance is out of order. So let us dispense the motion that we have so that we can proceed. Let Senate be under Senator Wambua. Let us Who is giving the mic when I'm speaking, clerks? Who is giving you the mic? So, honorable senators, in my late communication that I made, I said categorically that we didn't need to be more organized. I applauded you for the way we carried ourselves during the 3rd session. This is the start of the 4th session, day 1. And we agreed on so many matters when we were in Naivasha. So therefore, senators want us really to start in the light footing. Let us dispense of this motion without any side issues, without matters that don't matter to the Senate, to us. Senator Wambua, can you conclude?
Speaker, you know, that's where I was going before I was interrupted by my colleague, my friend. The Speaker, when senators seek clarification, we don't do it for ourselves. We do it for the people that we lead. We are not here because we brought ourselves here, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's some bit of confusion out there on this issue of the leadership in the House. And I know, Mr. Speaker, you have pronounced yourself on it. All the thing that I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is that should have formed a part of the formal communication by the Speaker so that you settle the matters. Mr. Speaker, you will remember, and this is, I'm going to add now, this is what one thing you realize in this Senate, Mr. Speaker. This is the house where the Secretary General of the two largest political parties in the Azimio coalition sit. The Secretary General of ODM sits in the Senate. The Secretary General of WIPA sits in this Senate, Mr. Speaker. And the Deputy Party Leader of ODM sits in the Senate, Mr. Speaker. And when you see the leadership of Azimio, the entire leadership move to this side, Mr. Speaker, you have to take note. There must be something really. I mean, take note, Mr. Speaker. Take note. Mr. Speaker, take note. And there is, but this is a very serious issue, Mr. Speaker. It is serious, Mr. Speaker, because look at the ones that are calling themselves majority. Where is their leadership? Where are the leaders? Where are they, Mr. Speaker? We only have the majority leader and the whip. Where are the rest, Mr. Speaker? We said we will be very serious this time around, Mr. Speaker, and this is a demonstration of seriousness. Mr. Speaker, guide this house on the matter of Standing Order 22 on who actually in this house is the majority and who is the minority. Mr. Speaker, I rest my case.
Speaker, I've not spoken. Senator Mwenda Gataya.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this very crucial motion. Honorable Speaker, can you protect me from some round consultations? Senator Handy, please. Honorable Speaker, from the onset, Honorable Speaker, can you protect me, Senator Onyonka? This is not, we are not in a club. Can you please?
Senator Onyonka. Proceed.
You know, you cannot just make round calls when somebody is on the floor. It's you, and you are insist on the petition for that. No, Honorable Speaker, I want to support the risk from the onset. You know, Honorable Speaker, this is a very crucial committee, which is supposed to process very important business of this house. I have been able to comb through the list. You know, we are midway, we are midterm, we have been together for the last almost 2.5 years. We know each other. I've looked at the number of people that have been put into that list. I know all of them by name, by their competence. And I think, Honorable Speaker, this is the best team that the leadership has produced that is supposed to steer the business of this house to some great heights. But I would also request that we reconsider the request made by my neighbor, my brother, Senator Mungatana, that we are supposed to prioritize the business of this house because we have quite a number of pending issues that are supposed to be processed, and we are not supposed maybe to give priority to a number of businesses that are generating from the National Assembly, for that matter. So, our Speaker, having been around for the last close to 2 years, the membership of this committee is competent, is equal to the task, and I hope, Honorable Speaker, we are going to have our businesses processed efficiently, and it's a team that I strongly support, Honorable Speaker. I support.
Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to also contribute. First, let me say that I have been privileged, Honorable Speaker, to serve on the SBC for 2 consecutive sessions. And despite some of the aspersions that have been cast, especially by Senator Mungatana, I think the report that was given in Naivasha of the midterm performance of this House is indicator to the work that has been put in by the SBC in ensuring that we process our business here. So, Honorable Speaker, I felt as part of the leadership of the majority coalition that we now need to give opportunity to other people to also experience this Senate Business Committee. And in fact, when members talk about that anxiety about the speed with which some of the business is moving, especially bills in this House, I don't think from our side there is somebody who is more passionate about the speed at which business is moving than Senator Crystal Asige. So I am hoping that with her in that committee, she will ensure that that which she has wished to see now happens under her guidance. Honorable Speaker, there is another issue that I need to raise as a leader in the House on the question of the speed with which we process bills here. It is also a question of dedication and quorum, presence of members on this floor. I remember at those meetings of the SBC, we have struggled, and the whips especially have felt the weight. Honorable Speaker, when you look at an order paper has almost 30 bills, and they keep recurring week after week. Honorable Speaker, we want to ask members that these last 2 years of the life of this Senate, people appear to process those bills, and especially the sponsors of the bills. Honorable Speaker, how many times have we had to drop bills because the sponsors were not in the House? So I also want to urge that whereas SBC can prioritize that business, we need the sponsors of the bills to be here, Honorable Speaker. Finally, Honorable Speaker, there's a matter that has been raised here, and I'm sure you've said you're going to give guidance, but also as members of the House and the leadership, we can also guide. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is very elaborate. It's very elaborate. You will see it starts out by defining what Parliament is, then separating the roles of the Senate and the National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, it goes to be specific enough as to the roles of each of those houses, the matters that can be processed there, and the matters that cannot be processed there. On the question of which party is a majority party, there is absolutely no mention throughout the entire document of the Constitution of the Senate. In my view, it means that the leadership or the designation of a majority party is set in the National Assembly. And I will tell you why I think that, Honorable Speaker, because it would be very absurd, Honorable Speaker, as SG of ODM, for my party to be the majority down there, and I'm in a minority here. Honorable Speaker, sometimes when you get communications from these coalitions, for instance, our membership of the PSC, there is only one person who writes those letters to you, and that is the Secretary General of Azimio. Honorable Speaker, would he write there in the National Assembly, he writes as a leader of a majority party, and here he writes as a leader of a minority party? These are some of the absurdities that I think would arise if we would not follow the designation. And by the way, Honorable Speaker, I want to be very clear that we in the majority coalition are going to ensure we enforce that court order, because we are believers in the rule of law. Once a court has pronounced itself, Senator Khalwale, you look for another seat. You don't insist on the one that you'll be told is not your seat. So therefore, Honorable Speaker, you cannot tell us, a member of the Senate cannot stand here and say, oh, the courts are out there and we are here. We exist in a constitutional order that the things that happen here have consequences outside, and that the process of checks and balances and oversight requires that other organs also look into the issues that are being done by this particular institution. So therefore, Honorable Speaker, we will not allow people to conflate issues. If Azimio is a majority party in the National Assembly, it follows that we are the majority in this House.
Just a minute,
I thank you, Honorable
Senator
Speaker.
Sifuna. Senator Mgatana. Just a minute, Senator Mgatana. Senator Mgatana, just a minute. You know, in the 8th, 9th Parliament, you used to stand and wave to get to catch the Speaker's eye. Now we went digital. You can just press intervention and I'll see. But what is your point of honor? Give him the mic.
Mr. Speaker, when we are addressing the nation from the floor of this House, we must bear in mind that we take responsibility for the statements that we make. Surely, Mr. Speaker, can it be true that what is pronounced as the leadership arrangement in the National Assembly should automatically hold for the Senate? Mr. Speaker, that cannot be true. Mr. Speaker, in fact, it is the absurdity of nature, at the highest absurdity, that we can go into an election, a political party wins the Senate majority, and another one wins the National Assembly majority, and by dint of the National Assembly majority, then the leadership is determined in the Senate. This is what my learned friend, Mr. Sifuna, is saying. Mr. Speaker, that cannot be correct. That is not right, And Kenyans listening to
Mgatana
us
is on a
must
point
know
of order. How can
that
you
that
start
is
on a
not
point of
the
order
correct
when he is
position.
also on a point of order?
Mr. Speaker, that cannot be right. Mr. Speaker, I wish to be heard, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can I be protected? Mr. Speaker, can I be
Senator
protected?
Mungatana,
yes.
Your point of order is okay, has been captured.
Yes.
Let Senator Sifuna conclude his contribution.
I don't know what exactly is out of order. I made a statement of fact that if you turn this constitution page to page, there is no place where it talks about designation of the majority party anywhere other than in the National Assembly. That is Article 108. That is a fact. If Senator Mungatana has another copy of the constitution, maybe in his native Pokomo language, he can show us where it speaks about designation of a majority party in the Senate.
Senator Milanj Abdulrahman.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kuweza kunipa fursa hii na mimi niweze kuunga mkono hoja iliyoletwa mbele na kiongozi wa walio wengi katika bunge hili la Seneti, Seneta wa Kericho Bwana Aaron Cheriot, na niweze kuwapongeza maseneta wenzangu kutoka gatuzi ya Mombasa, kiongozi wetu Seneta Mwinyi Haji Faki na dadangu Seneta Kristo Lasige kwa kuweza kuteuliwa na kutwikwa majukumu ya kukaa katika kamati hiyo. Bwana Spika, baada ya kushuka na kuteremka katika mlima, kupita katika bonde la Ufa na kufika pwani, tunashukuru ya kwamba tumerudi tukiwa buheri wa afya. Niliweza kupendekeza katika awamu iliyopita ya bunge hili tuweze kubuni kamati ya kusimamia ripoti ili tuweze kuona utekelezwaji wa yale makubaliano katika kamati zetu. Lakini hatukuweza kukubaliana na kamati iliyochaguliwa safari hii. Ningependekeza kwamba nitakuja tena na pendekezo kama hilo, tuweze kubuni kamati ya kufuatilia zile ripoti ambazo tunazipitisha. Nikinaya Bwana Spika, kuweza kuona sisi tunakaa katika kamati zetu tofauti tofauti na kuja na makubaliano ya ni jinsi gani tutaweza kutatua lalama na matatizo ya wananchi wa Kenya, lakini hatimaye tunaandika ripoti na zinabaki katika majengo haya ya bunge la Seneti. Bwana Spika, pia niweze kuchangia katika hoja moto inayoendelea. Hapa Seneti tulikuwa na maseneta wawili walioweza kuchaguliwa na wakaapishwa na sisi. Lakini wakati rais aliwachagua kama waziri, hakuna seneta Esi Okenyuri hakuja tu na kuingia hapa na kuchukua kiti ati kwa sababu IBC iliashiria kwamba yeye alikuwa awe seneta baada ya wale wengine kuondoka. Ningependelea kuwakumbusha viongozi wenzangu ya kwamba hili si soko la Musangarire ama soko la kule Keroka. Hapa tuko katika jumba la Seneti, jumba ambalo liko na nidhamu zake. Kwa hivyo tunasubiri tuweze kupawa mwelekeo na karani wa bunge la Seneti. Iwapo kuna hoja yoyote ama hiyo hoja ya kwamba sisi ni wachache na wengine ni wengi, tuweze kujulishwa tu, kwa sababu haiwezekani watu kujipa mamlaka kama karubandika. Naona ni kama hapa Seneti tuko na karubandika wa kizazi kipya. Kwa hayo mengi ya machache, ningependa kuwapongeza walioteuliwa wote katika kamati hiyo, na ningependa waweze kuweka miswada yetu, wayape kipaumbele kuliko yale ambayo yako kule bunge la National Assembly, kwa sababu sisi tunapitisha hapa hoja zetu na zinapofika kule zinaekwa, hazipewi first priority. Asante sana Bwana Spika.
Senator Mohamed Faki.
Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nilikuwa nimebofya ili niweze kumjuza seneta wa Kitui alipokuwa yuko kwenye mchango wake. Kwa sasa singependa kuongea kwa hoja hii. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Okay. Senator Olekina Ledama.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are living in very interesting times. As you can see, today I'm standing in my position as a Chief Whip of the Senate of the Republic of Kenya, and I want to thank the former Chief Whip, Boni Halwale, for being so gracious and accepting and walking away and sitting in an undisclosed location. Mr. Speaker, as I support this motion, allow me to begin by condemning the utterances by one governor of Nyeri, Mutahi Kahiga, when he insulted my community, when he called my community people who walk without underwears. Mr. Speaker, that is completely uncouth and uncalled for. And Governor what is his name? Kahiga must understand that we are here as one nation, and that type of divisive politics is uncalled for, and should not be allowed in this country. You cannot go and demean another community. You should allow a community to be able to be fully represented, and you cannot go out there and shame a community. Shame on you, Governor what was his name? Anaitwa nani? Kahiga, Governor Kahiga. I mean, seriously. When will we as leaders have a sense of occasion? They're in a burial. People are crying. They are bereaved. And then you go there, you start your politics. Why don't you go and use the money from the county government that you're used to using to go and call for a rally to be able to go and insult other people? I mean, it's about time that we learn the sense of occasion. So shame on you, Governor Kahiga, and the Maasai community will not stand. And as I represent that community, I will not stand and see you shaming my community. You know, if it was in those eras, we'll deal with you. But now, we just want to call you for your utterances, which do not have a position in this republic. Mr. Speaker, really, as leaders, we must respect other communities. You know, it is completely unethical, uncouth, and uncivil